Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Knights of the Dawn podcast, where we talk about everything Brandon Mole. And today, we're going to be talking about chapters
9 through 12.
9 through 12. Thank you, because I forgot what numbers we were talking about. I
got
realized
you.
that when I started talking. I was like,
got
oh
you.
no, I'm going to sound unprepared.
Well, now you do.
Okay, well, I'm trying to be real here a little bit.
Yeah, I know, and I appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're talking about chapters 9 through 12, starting with Hugo, Midsummer Eve, Chapter 11, Aftermath, Chapter 12, Inside the Barn.
Mm-hmm.
A very large variety of titles.
These
like
are some
Midsummer Eve sounds cool.
exciting chapters.
Then there's Inside a Barn, and I was like, that sounds dumb.
Yeah.
But it's not, I promise. Okay.
Got quite the chapters in store to talk about today.
Really good discussion possibilities, too.
Yeah.
Stuff that we've already kind of covered that we can really dive into now with some extra stuff.
All right. Should do chapter summaries real fast?
Yep.
Okay. So chapter 9, it's called Hugo for a reason because we meet a character named Hugo. And basically,
real creative naming.
This is like the day of Midsummer's Eve, and they're preparing for the festival night that night. And so we start off with Dale and Seth. They're going to, I think, the field or something, and Dale says they're going to meet a person named Hugo. Or, person is maybe not the right word.
A loose term, yes.
Yeah, but we find out that he is what is called a golem, which is like a being that like takes orders made up of like dirt and rock and stuff.
I believe they called it a dirt robot, basically.
Basically, yeah. He takes orders.
He doesn't think, he doesn't feel, he just does.
Yeah. And so Seth is really excited. He starts like being like, "Can I tell Hugo what to do?" And he gets him to do a cartwheel and stuff.
Chuck a pumpkin into outer space.
Yeah. And then we go over to Kendra and Lena, and they're in like the greenhouse harvesting pumpkins to make into jack-o'-lanterns. And so then,
fun fact, they do work in this universe. They keep away the scary things.
True. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, that's basically, they meet Hugo and kind of are just prepping for the night.
Yep. And then we have the actual night of Midsummer's Eve, which is the summer solstice. For those who don't know, in this book, is it June 20th? I believe that's.
I feel like
it's usually
June
right
20th
around there.
Or 21st.
Yeah, it's right there. So that's what they call the Midsummer's Eve, where basically all the monsters, monsters, that is not...
All the creatures.
Yes, all the magical creatures in Fablehaven get to cross some boundaries that they normally can't. So they can come into the yard where they previously were never able to do before, and they get to have a party.
I would not want to go to this party.
No, you do not want to go to this party.
It's not the kind of party for humans.
No, it is not. And then, so they have that party, but things go wrong, which is why the next chapter is called Aftermath, because we have Seth and Kendra trying to,
pick up the pieces.
Pick up the pieces. That's a great way to put it, because literally the house is pretty much in pieces.
Yeah.
And so they have to put, they're trying to figure out, because Grandpa's missing, Lena's missing, Dale is met an unfortunate fate. And
turned to
painted stone, I believe is what they went with it.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Stone.
Yeah, and so they start trying to figure it out. They have to go out into the woods, try and figure things out, run into some more shenanigans, as they are wont to do. And then we have the final chapter inside the barn. They
go inside the barn.
They break the other rule that Grandpa gave them at the very beginning.
Yep.
Don't go in the woods.
Don't go in the barn.
I find it interesting that Seth never tried to go in the barn before that. I guess he just wasn't interested in seeing cows.
I mean, it's easier to walk into the woods than try and break into the barn, I guess.
And I guess, big, expansive woods sounds more interesting than
a barn.
Building with sharp objects inside is how it's described.
Yeah, a barn is pretty typical, and they didn't know about the giant cow until they heard the moose.
Fun fact, there is a giant cow inside of the barn.
And then they're like, oh.
I think they describe it as 3 stories tall. 3 stories tall.
Yeah, it's a big barn. I never paid attention to how big it was.
It's the Clifford, the big red dog of cows, basically.
That's a good way to put it, yes.
That is the proportions
Viola
we're
is
looking
Clifford.
At. Okay, but yeah, so... Yeah, they're led there because she was moving a lot because she was uncomfortable because she has not been milked. So they have to get a little bit creative.
Yes.
We'll talk about that later.
Okay, so Let's go back to Hugo, chapter 9.
Chapter 9, page 144, if nobody wants to
144.
look up the
That's good to know.
chapter contents.
We get some fun, like, stuff with Seth before it all goes wrong.
We get some good stuff with Lena and Dale, too.
Yeah, Dale has some...
He gets a couple...
The most in pretty much any chapter in the rest of the series. Rip Dale. It's okay.
Rip Dale!
He's the unsung hero of the series. It's okay.
But, okay, so we start off the chapter. We got Lena and Kendra having a very nice conversation that kind of expounds upon what they were talking about.
Yeah.
Towards the beginning of the book, where, like, they're talking more about Lena's life as a fallen naiad.
Yeah.
Is how it's referred to. It kind of shows, like, I feel like when I was reading this, it kind of occurred to me, the first time we kind of had this conversation, she was kind of discussing the positives. She was discussing the things that she loved. Like, she experienced joy, she experienced love, she got to go and see the world. Her world literally it was the size of a pond, and it grew so much, and she got to go explore all of that. But here in this conversation, we kind of get to see the bad side. We get to see the flip side, because literally every magical creature looks down on her for the decision that she made. Like, they're like, you chose to become mortal? And, like, like anything that reminds them that she was once a naiad, like, they jump on it and they, like, scorn her for it. Because, like, yes, they're kind of jealous, but B, they're just, like, mocking her. Which is really sad, actually.
Yeah.
Especially because Lena does have those feelings.
Yeah, she has some regrets, some kind of,
Which is very understandable.
Yeah, well, yeah, for
We're
sure.
not saying, like, oh my gosh, she's so ungrateful for what she had. No, she's
No.
she understands what she has and she's grateful for it. And she even says, like, given the opportunity, I think I would do it again.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, she ages so much more slowly than everybody else.
And I think, like, her story really gives you, like, I guess, somewhat of an application to, like, life. If, like, you make a life-changing, like, life-altering decision, and then years later you're looking back on it, you're gonna not just see it with rose-tinted glasses. You're gonna see the good and the bad. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Like,
exactly.
You're gonna see all of it. And I really like how she kind of takes it in, and she's like, yeah, there's stuff I don't like getting old and, like, my body, like, betraying me and stuff, but then she's like, no, I don't regret it. And so I think there's something to learn from Lena with that.
Yeah. Your heart really goes out to her in this chapter. Just, like, I like how she kind of does relate it to, like Kendra says, like, I can't really picture being grown up. Part of me wonders if high school will ever really happen. Lena was kind of, like, the same way. Like, she had, like, 50, 60 years where she was able to just go out, explore the world. She's like, I got to dance with on the trapeze and do so many things, like, that now she would find impossible just now. Like, especially because, like, I like how she relates it to, like she's feeling this because of what happened in the last chapter with Seth. Because when Seth gets attacked by the fairies, like, Kendra and both of them are screaming for help. Like, they're both terrified, and Lena hears it, but she can't get to them. Like, she says, I ended up on the floor. Like, like, 20, 30 years ago, I would have been there like that. I would have been first at your side. I would have been there, and I would have been able to help.
Yeah.
Now, I think I just have to come hobbling along after the fact.
It's like her weaknesses are on display. Yeah.
And so she just has this now feeling of vulnerability again. Like, she cares for these kids now, and she wasn't able to help them. Like, she knows she could have.
Yeah.
In the past. And it just hurts. It hurts
Deep
a little.
stuff.
It really does. So yeah, we got the pros of mortality in the first bit, and now she kind of goes into the cons, because that's what her mind's on.
Yeah. And she has such an interesting perspective because she's lived both in immortality and mortality, which is not common among anyone, obviously, and, like,
it's
not common in these
perspective
books.
that you get to explore. It's really fascinating.
It's really interesting.
And I love how at the end, like, she's not bitter. She's not bitter at all. She's like, I'm sad. I wish I could be there, and I'm kind of, like, I'm not exactly looking forward to, like, because she has, like, yeah, she's already old, but that period is going to extend for her much longer. Dale, Kendra, and Seth might even be, like, in like grandpa and grandma's age by
Yeah.
the time she passes.
Mm-hmm.
Like she has so much time still ahead of her of this what she sees as a feeble condition, but at the
Yeah.
same time she's still upbeat about it. She's still optimistic about it, which is hats off to Lena. We love Lena.
Yep.
She's a queen.
She's great.
She is a queen.
And then just after their conversation, then they start talking. They go, I think they're having dinner, and then Grandpa starts telling them,
the office.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Grandpa's like, tomorrow is Midsummer's Eve, and then he starts telling them kind of like about it, and like that it's like there's 4 of them a year on the solstices and the equinoxes, and that's like the most dangerous night of the year for people at Fablehaven.
Mm-hmm.
And so
here's where I kind of want to bang the book into my head a little bit again. Because it has not been yet like 3 or 4 days since Seth had his learning experience, and yet already his consequences. He
it
had
was
to
a
face
learning
the
experience. I just think that was very lightly put.
You get what I mean.
Yeah.
It hasn't been more than a week from that point. And already in this chapter, when Grandpa's telling him very solemnly, like he's laying it all out on the table, I like to think that Grandpa's like, I need to tell these kids what's going on, otherwise they're going to do something stupid. Case A, Walrus Seth.
Yeah.
And so he lays it all out on the table. Tomorrow there's going to be monsters in the yard. You have to obey my orders, otherwise bad things will happen.
Yeah.
Like he's like,
okay, I know that you don't really listen to what I'm saying unless I tell you everything, which he hasn't up to this point. So now I get what you're saying. Like, for the first time, he's telling them literally everything.
He says up front,
yeah,
this is what's going on.
Uh-huh.
Please listen.
Please. For the love of everything.
Seth, darling.
Like, I'm looking at you, Seth.
We all know who we're looking at.
I might be talking to both of you, but I'm looking you in the eyes.
Please. And yet Seth in this entire chapter is still just going, but I want to look.
His curiosity.
His curiosity.
It is his fatal flaw.
It is. I would 100% agree.
Yes.
Now I'm going to have to keep an eye out for Kendra's. I'm curious to see what hers is. I'll keep that in the back of my head.
Yeah.
But yeah, he just is curious. He needs to know these things. Like, he starts talking with Dale later. Like, he's heard, like, there will be, I believe the exact quote is, nightmares take shape and prowl the yard.
Yeah.
And it's like, Seth is like, that sounds awesome. I want to watch.
Yeah. Actually, one of my favorite quotes from, like, this entire book is in this conversation between Seth and Dale.
Do tell.
When Dale is like, I have had the chance to look, but I regret it. And Seth is like, I know you say that you looked and you don't, like, it, like, messed you up, but I still want to look. And then Dale says, smart people learn from their mistakes, but the real sharp ones learn from the mistakes of others. That's a really good quote.
I missed that one when I was going through. Dang, Dale!
I know. He's,
Get it,
like,
bud.
throwing down some really good wisdom, but, like...
This entire conversation, he is, like, trying to help Seth.
But it
like,
just goes over Seth's head.
It
Like,
does.
He's like...
Well, you can tell he's trying.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, he just has that innate curiosity where he just needs to know. Like...
Yeah.
He's like... Dale is... He's like, Seth is like, you're killing me. Like, it's actually, like, causing him pain. Like, he needs to know these things. And it's just, like, ooh, I like this bit when it says, like, what can be so bad? I can imagine, like, really scary things.
Mm-hmm.
And Dale's like, I thought the same thing. I failed to appreciate that imagining and seeing are 2 very different things.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, Dale's like, it's not even just, like, that seeing it tomorrow night will be the scary thing. It's whenever you're outside after that. He's like,
that is chilling.
Like, if I'm outside at night, those things come back to my head. Like, he knows, like, if he's out in the yard at night, he's still safe.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter, because now he knows what's out there.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been here.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, he's like, it's not fun.
Dale has paid the price of knowledge, and Seth doesn't think that there is a price, is what it is.
Dang, dropping bars over here, man.
Well, like, he's like, I'm brave, like, he's just kind of doing this thing where he's convincing himself that, like, or I think he is convinced that it wouldn't bother him as
He's
much.
Simba. He's like, I can go to the
because-
elephant graveyard. It's fine.
You bring up Simba, like, every time.
It's relevant.
And Seth is so convinced that he, as an 11-year-old, knows that
He can take
he can take it. But the thing is that he doesn't know, and that can hurt him.
Yeah.
As he's learned before, but just in a different way, that what you don't know can hurt you.
I honestly feel like, he's, like, trying to almost make up for his mistake, like, with the fairies. Like, he hurt that fairy. He knows now it was an innocent mistake, but he hurt that fairy. And he knows, like, he probably feels like his respect in the eyes of, like, Grandpa, Lena, Kendra, and Dale has dropped because he got turned into a giant bubbly walrus.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I kind of do get it's not so much said or really not even implied a ton, but I get that feeling like a little bit of redemption is what he's looking for here.
Except looking out the window doesn't give you redemption. It's just curiosity.
Yeah. I'm trying to look for a good fight here.
I know. You're trying to... The thing is that he's like feeding into his own weaknesses, which is curiosity.
That's very true. Well, that kind of helps. We can skip ahead then, like, talking about, like, the scene. So, like, basically they finish getting ready, but the problem is they have the jack-o'-lanterns, yes, but they work best when there are fairies inside. And so usually Grandpa can, like, ask for volunteers, and a bunch of fairies will show up. They'll sit in the jack-o'-lanterns for the festival night. Only because of Seth's...
Days ago,
yes, the fairies are still bitter about what Seth did. And so only, like, a fraction, like a very small percentage of what Grandpa was expecting show up. So Grandpa gets the kids to bed, and they already know, like the festival night is already starting, and, like, they're, like, even, like, Grandpa, Lena, and Dale are concerned. Like, Lena took a glance to see, like, if there were people if they were creatures entering the yard.
Yeah.
And, like, you can tell, like she's rattled right off the bat.
The creepy thing is that, like, it's like as soon as the sun goes down, they can enter the yard.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just makes this kind of, like, what I picture in my head is just, like, the sun going down, the light going away,
like,
the
like,
darkness falls, and the evil enters into the yard. Is, like, creepy.
Mm-hmm. Like, it's chilling.
Yeah.
Like, especially because Grandpa's, like, usually they wait until twilight at the very least is gone, until, like, it's, like, completely dark. But, like, no, tonight, the sun's gone, they're in.
It sets up a creepy atmosphere.
Yeah. Because, like, Grandpa's, like, on a normal time, this is bad.
Yeah.
But this time is worse.
Yeah, with everything that's been going on, he's like, this is not going to be an easy night.
And he's like, I wish I could have, like, taken them and, like, gone to, like, a hotel, but that would, like, doom the entire preserve, I believe is what he says.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like,
because Seth asks, why don't we, or Kendra asks, why don't we all just stay in a hotel? He said that they have to be there for
the protections to actually work.
Yeah, or else they could destroy the house and everything.
Same thing with the nursery on a smaller, localized level.
Yeah.
There have to be kids inside their little nursery attic playroom and no adults for the strongest protections to take effect. And so Grandpa has to leave them inside, alone, in their beds.
Uh-huh. And, like, the crazy thing to me is that, like, even before the monsters get into the house, he says, if you hear me at the door, don't answer. And I'm like, wait, the monsters aren't in there. Like, what?
He just gives them all these warnings, like, stay in your beds, put in the earplugs.
Yeah.
Ignore anything you hear. If you hear me outside the door before the sun rises, do not open it.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. It's just like, oh, man, like, what?
Like he's just preparing for any worst case scenario.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not going to let these kids get hurt.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, I wish you didn't have to be here right now. Like, he's like, it was like,
he's trying his best.
Time. He's doing his best.
He's doing his best with what he's got.
He's trying to put the fear of God into this child, and it's not working.
Seth doesn't have any fear. Okay, he has fear, but...
But yeah. And so the night begins, like, they can hear, like, the howling, the screaming, just, like, the wind is disgusting, like, rattling the house. And, like, Kendra, the smart, sensible one, puts in the earplugs, puts her hands over her ears, and tries to go to bed. Seth tries to prank her by putting his hands around his throat. Of course, he does get smacked in the face for that, which he totally deserved.
And then he's like, why did you hit me? And she's like, because you're stupid. Like, why are you trying to...
Is that even a
She's like, this is
question?
not the time to joke, Seth.
Like, but of course, Seth's the one laying on his bed, earplugs out, just listening. And he's like, I gotta look. And so Kendra can't stop him in time, and so he runs and he yanks open the curtains and he looks outside and he doesn't see anything. There's the light of the fairy lanterns right in front of him, and then just, I think they say swirling blackness, like no stars.
I imagine like
nothing.
mist or something, you know?
I imagine like a dark cave, like you're in the middle of a cave and you have like one candle.
That's even worse than what I pictured.
That's what I
I'm
picture.
gonna stick with my version.
And so, but
then
he
the
looks.
fairies leave because they see Seth, and then that's when the monsters come to their window.
The darkness is complete.
We're getting into some creepy, weird stuff.
Well, that's
Okay.
what. It's
Okay,
Brandon's
so
fault.
then after the fairies leave,
So,
they
yeah.
they see what appears to be a baby,
Mm-hmm.
and it starts crying, and then they see wolves going to
towards
attack the baby. And Seth,
To his credit, it was a brave thing to do.
yes,
Like when he looked, he was being stupid.
yeah,
Like he was just trying to prove himself.
yeah,
But when he saw the baby, that was courage.
yes,
He thought he could save the baby.
yes.
It was still kind of stupid.
But it
'cause he
wasn't
knew.
like idiot stupid.
It wasn't idiot stupid. It was brave stupid.
Yeah.
And so he opens the window.
And immediately the monsters come in, and it was all a trick.
They get like at least 4 in the room.
Yeah,
with them,
a couple of them get in, and then Kendra is able to close the window, and then they run to their beds.
which have another like last line of defense protection,
Yeah.
a ring of salt. Also another little like, isn't that like a superstition from like the Middle Ages? Like if you put a ring of salt around your bed, it will protect from evil spirits.
I don't know. I know that there's a superstition about throwing salt over your shoulder.
That's one. Well, and both apply here.
Salts, I mean, it works because it does keep the monsters away from their beds. There's like
Yeah.
this magical barrier.
It, like makes a little cocoon around them.
Mm-hmm.
They even managed to save the chicken, Goldilocks.
Yep.
That's
exactly.
another one where I think that's a brave Seth moment.
Yeah.
Like the Goldilocks cage is outside the circle,
Uh-huh.
gets thrown to the wall and broken open, and she gets grabbed by one of the monsters. Seth, no hesitation,
Grabs the salt.
like scoops some salt out of the ring, leaves it intact,
Yeah.
but like sprints out, throws the salt at the monster because he saw how it affected him.
Uh-huh.
It lets go of Goldilocks, gets burned. He grabs the chicken and runs. Throws salt behind him in like a cloud to shield
Which
his
is
escape.
smart.
Like he's so smart, but so stupid.
He's smart when he absolutely has to be.
He's street smart.
Street smart.
He's
Yeah.
very street smart.
True. So then
Yeah.
Dale comes in with a shotgun and he's like, stay there. And then
Like
he
stay on the
like,
bed.
yeah. And then he goes out and the monsters follow him and then they shut the door. And then all they have is what they hear, which they can't trust. And
Well, even before that, all they're hearing is more shots from the shotgun.
uh-huh.
They're hearing screaming. They're hearing roaring. They're hearing crashing.
Which would be like the worst thing ever. Like
For
you just
Seth,
made
I
like the
imagine.
biggest mistake of your
Yeah.
life. And then the immediate consequences is that everyone you love within the near vicinity is put in danger
Yeah.
because of you.
Mm-hmm. And you can kind of tell. Like, and we're seeing this.
It gets to him.
Yeah, we're seeing this from Kendra's point of view. Like they're just
Yeah.
sitting, they're just curled up on one of the beds together.
Uh-huh.
Goldilocks in between them, just like shaking. Like they are both terrified,
Yeah.
and you can tell like Kendra's like looking kind of like glancing at Seth, that she can tell like he is rattled. Like he is like oh my gosh, what
Uh-huh.
have I done?
Yeah.
What have I like?
Yeah.
He's like he even like he tears up immediately afterward, and he's like, I didn't mean for that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought it was a baby. I wanted to save it. I thought they'd like kidnapped it and they were using it as bait.
Yeah.
And Kendra's like, I know, and it's just hard because even then like she sees how much it gets to him, and she actually like helps him out. She bolsters his confidence. She's like, you know what part I liked? I liked when you saved Goldilocks.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, That was pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
But, like...
But then they continue to hear noises, and then they hear voices that sound like Grandpa and Dale and Lena being like, come on out, kids.
It's time, the sun's
It's over,
up.
you know? And then they're
It's
like,
just
go
cloudy
away.
outside.
And then
And
eventually, once the sun is all the way up, they go downstairs.
and they find nobody. The house is completely trashed.
It's like a tornado came through or something.
There are mysterious stains and burns, and
there's like arrows in the door frame,
and it's like
it's all trash.
Like, and you can kind of see Seth like put up like a brave face, like they're probably fine. They're probably like in the basement or they're probably outside. Like it's
and they
fine.
Look everywhere.
And they look everywhere. And they find nothing.
They find Dale, who seems to
Dale.
be turned into like a statue.
Who has been petrified.
Yeah, basically petrified. Harry Potter reference.
Little fun detail I noticed. Like Seth, like he leans down and he like yells in Dale's ear, "If you can hear us, give us a sign." And I just remember like years ago noticing that's the exact same thing that Grandpa said to him when he got turned into a walrus.
Oh.
Just a little thing there.
Yeah.
Like Seth remembered that, and he's trying to be the responsible one. He's trying to do what Grandpa did. I just remember seeing that and noticing that. It kind of hurt my heart a little bit. Like
well, you hurt for Seth in this whole chapter because he does something. Well, first he does something stupid, and then he does something brave, and then stupid and brave again. But like you feel for him because he's learning firsthand that consequences of something seemingly small can have great repercussions. Mm-hmm. Like something so small as like opening a window can literally change everyone's lives around you, and just as a hard lesson to learn. And he learns it the hard way.
And he's like 11.
The thing is that he continues to learn it. That is something that he learned with keeping a fairy in overnight. Something small, big consequences. Opening a window, seems small, big consequences.
And I feel like this time it sticks more than the other one.
Yeah.
This one definitely sticks. Like Kendra, she kind of sees him like looking like he's trying to brush it off. Yeah. And she lays into him.
But it's a facade.
Like she rips away that facade. Yeah. Which like she realizes she does, and she backs off, and she's like, I'm sorry. I thought you didn't care. And he's like, of course I care. I might have just killed our family.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And she's like, well, let's go look for them.
And so, like, Kendra's like, okay, let's be sensible about this. Yeah. Let's look, search the entire yard. Yeah. And Seth's like, I need to fix this. We're going out in the woods.
Mm-hmm. So before we move on, I have kind of a fun question that is related.
Please
how would you prepare for a festival night if you were at Fablehaven or on a preserve? What would you do? Or to, like, get through the night, because it's harrowing night.
I wonder if I would look. I wonder, like, as an adult.
That's an interesting question.
Yeah. Would I look? Would you look?
I don't know. I feel like I have, like, the two shoulder angels and shoulder devil, like in Emperor's New Groove, where it's, like, one is, like, Seth being like, yeah, we should look. Not, like, necessarily the devil, but, like, curiosity.
That curiosity.
And then the angel's like, no, don't look.
Curiosity
Someone else
sensibility.
Told you, yeah. Someone else said they regret looking. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't look.
Yeah.
So.
Would you look?
I think I might peek, and then I would regret it for the rest of my life, like Dale.
I want to say probably the same thing. Like, it's the same concept of people, like, going to see horror movies.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't like horror movies.
I don't either.
So
I don't either.
I would probably, it's like, if I ever watch a horror movie, I, like, have my hands over my eyes and then just, like, peek and be like, why did I do that? I don't know.
Well, I'm the kind of person who says, oh, you want to go watch this horror movie? Nah, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm not a horror movie person.
I'll just go, I'll go watch, like, Toy Story in my room or something.
You're like,
something happy.
It's okay. Well, and I asked because it almost kind of feels like, what would you do in a zombie apocalypse kind of thing, if you had to survive for one night?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like to think that I'm not, like, especially if I'd been told, because, like, Seth and Kendra, they were told they will use illusions, they will use tricks.
Yeah.
They will try to deceive you, but they were still taken in by that baby. I like to think that I would have the sense of mind to not be taken in by the baby. the hard thing also is, like, even after that, they keep using, like, voices, like, of, like, children outside the windows to, like, terrify these kids and, like, help us, Seth, help us, Kendra, please, please let us in, they're gonna kill us. Ah!
And then they hear them getting, like...
dismembered.
It's pretty horrific.
Yeah.
Like, man.
These are kids.
Yeah, well, these are monsters. They don't care.
Yeah.
So we both look and then regret it. I can't say we're much better than Seth then.
We wouldn't open the window.
But would you?
Yeah. No.
You almost said yes.
I meant, like, would I? I meant,
would
yes,
you
I
not?
wouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah, we did
I'm
the
playing
wrong-
devil's advocate, so
Yeah, you are.
it's fine.
All right, so they go off into the woods. They think they're following a trail of what might have taken Grandpa. Instead, they find this lovely well in a magical place that is filled with stew.
And then they figure out, well, they're told it's not actually a well. It's a chimney.
Chimney, yeah.
Sort of
Yeah.
thing. And that's when they meet the satyrs.
Newell and Doran, iconic.
The classic comedy duo.
It's always a satyr.
I
Always,
mean,
if there are satyrs in the story, it's
I
gonna be
equate satyrs and their humor with, like, teenage boys.
satyr.
And they
Yeah,
have got the
matches.
brains of them, too, so.
Yeah, that matches.
Sorry, teenage boys, but
Hope nobody's
you gotta
listening.
admit it.
Okay, yeah, but so credit to Newell and Doran, they do save them.
Yeah, they save them from the ogress.
Yeah, so Newell and Doran had this little operation where they made this like little like rig on top of the ogress's chimney so that they could drop a bucket down and lift up some of her stew because it's so delicious.
And they
'cause
also
they're-
don't want to make it for
Yes,
themselves.
they're satyrs. Like their
They're
kind of thing
lazy.
is that they are lazy. If you ask them to do something, they'll be like, "Oh, gee,
I
you
have
know,
an appointment
you know, I
today.
would. I totally would. But oh, look at the sun. Gotta go."
Yeah, exactly.
And so they get out of most situations. So they get away from the ogress, and Newell and Doran give them some very much needed information, like how to get back to Fablehaven, like get back to the house.
They also give them
A
a business proposition.
proposition.
They're like, our supplier is no longer available, and we are in need of batteries of all things.
Size C specifically, and the excuse they give, they're like little tiny gods to us.
We worship them.
We worship
They're like, nope, just kidding. We have a TV.
Which
They do worship.
that's true.
they worship the TV.
Yeah, which is also very against the rules. Like Grandpa Sorensen is very like anti-technology.
Yes.
Like they don't have TVs in the house, radios, phones, anything.
Because he's like, this is a magical preserve with magical
We
creatures.
gotta keep it pure.
We don't need the magic of technology here, too.
But the satyrs have gotten hold of a little tiny television that they have rigged up to work with size C batteries.
Which they watch 24/7 when they do have
When they
batteries.
do have the
and then
batteries.
they go through all of them.
Like that. And
Like
so
me going
they-
through a Netflix show. I just binge.
Literally me too. And so they see another business opportunity in Seth and Kendra. They're like, we can get you anything. We can get you gold. We can get you fancy stuff. We can say we're even after saving your lives. Just get us some stinking batteries.
Yep.
That's I think the most we get in
Yeah.
this book, but it's a good setup for future stuff.
Yeah. And then off they go and
Off they
make it
go.
back to the
They
house.
make it back. And like they're like a little bit miffed because like we just went out, we nearly died, just trying to, and we got nothing to show
Yeah.
for it.
Like they accomplished nothing. And so
Yeah.
they're frustrated and they're literally just like, we don't know what to do. Like we are literally brand new here and we don't understand how this place works really. We don't know where to even begin to try and find out how to find Grandpa and Lena.
So what do they do?
They follow the moose.
So like ever since like Midsummer's Eve, they've been hearing like loud moos, like or just like I think they describe it as like groans and like cacophony, like really
of
loud stuff,
Pain.
like of something like that they could not figure out where it was coming from.
Yeah.
Finally, they figure out it's coming from the barn.
So they break in.
They break into the barn because they're like, we gotta figure out what this is.
Lo
like,
and
they-
behold.
There's Viola, our giant magical cow. Clifford cow.
Clifford cow, yeah.
It's a
yeah.
Clifford cow. So yeah, she is the source of the milk that allows you to see the fairies, the magical creatures. And she has not been milked.
a couple
And-
days.
And she needs to be milked.
There's this really funny quote, like, line when they see Viola and how big she is. And Seth, it says, Seth pointed at the back of the barn.
Yes.
Look at the manure. Sick. The world's biggest cow pie. You would notice that.
Kendra's like,
Kendra's like, of course you noticed
would.
the poop.
You would notice the poop and call it
The world's biggest cow pie.
Like, come on, Seth. Like, I'm trying so hard
It's
to
so
tolerate
funny.
you.
Yeah, she's like, oh my goodness.
No, but yeah. So this is where Kendra kind of gets a chance to shine a little bit.
Yeah.
And so so Seth is like, what's going on? Like, why is she moving so much? And Kendra's like, well, look at her udders. Like, those are swollen. That she is obviously in pain.
Mm-hmm.
We have to relieve it.
Yeah, and so she devises a plan of how they're going to milk her.
Mm-hmm. So they find some ladders, and like the way I imagine it, those udders are probably 20, 30 feet up, I'd say.
I'd say like 15 to 20 feet, yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So they get up on the ladders, and of course, Kendra uses Seth as her guinea pig once
Yeah,
again.
she's like, you go first. He's like, no. She's like, yes, you do it. He's like, fine.
He's just like, I think that what she says is, you're better at this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
he's like, milking a giant cow.
yeah, I'll show you my trophies sometime. I love it.
And so what they have to do is they have to climb up the ladders, hug the udders, and slide down. And,
Yeah.
like, just imagine, because I think she, like, talked about, like, her face, like, going up against the
Yeah,
udders.
like,
Just
rubbing
like,
against the
"Ugh."
teeth, like-
Gross.
And of course, I love how, like, kind of uncomfortable Seth is just, like, talking about it. Like,
Uh-huh.
like, how are we supposed to reach her thingies?
Yeah.
Because Kendra's like, they're udders.
I know.
They're
He's like,
teats. Like, it's fine.
he's so uncomfortable. It's just like, that's such, like a boy thing to say.
Yeah,
Be like,
like,
those,
Thingies. Yeah, so, they do manage to milk her, though, and
They say it takes, like, 50 times each or something, like,
Yeah,
going, like,
nearly 200 times climbing those ladders,
Yeah.
hugging as tightly as they can so that they don't just fall and just sliding down.
like, full body workout. I think they
Y-
talked about
right.
that. They're just, like, exhausted, covered in milk. And so, yeah, then they clean up the barn with the hose, and then they go back to the house.
Get changed because
Yeah.
otherwise they're making butter in their armpits.
I think Seth says that. He's like, we could make yogurt or something if we walked her. It's
Mhm.
so funny. And
It's just
gross.
so gross.
And at the end of the chapter, it says, they left the barn. The day was waning. You have a big tear in your shirt, Kendra said. I ripped it while we were running from that ogress. I have a pink one you can borrow. This'll work fine, said Seth. Once it dries off. The pink one would hide you just as well as the camouflage, Kendra said. Are all girls as brainless as you? You're telling me a green shirt will make you invisible to monsters? No. Less visible. Less is the point. And, like, he points it out. He's like, less visible. But I think he's realized that it doesn't make you invisible. Because sometimes I think that's what he thinks.
He's growing. He's a growing boy.
Yeah, he's figuring it out.
He's getting there. Yeah, so yeah, that pretty much wraps up this section. This one had some very deep stuff.
Yes.
It was
We
very-
start kind of more lighthearted with Hugo and being
Mhm.
like, throw this pumpkin as far as you can into the woods. You know, kind of like fun shenanigans, which I would love to see. I want to see Hugo throw a pumpkin into the woods. That'd be fun.
And then, like, with the Midsummer Eve is just...
It's
when
rough.
it's really like, okay, are we sure this is a kid book? Are we sure?
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Yeah.
So, do you have a favorite character moment for these chapters?
I'm not going to elaborate on it too much because we already talked mostly about it. Seth saving Goldilocks.
That's also mine. That's the one I thought of too.
Like, the fact that he had no hesitation. Like, yeah, he had just messed up big time, and he did everything he could
Yeah.
to remedy it.
Yeah.
He saw that Goldilocks was in danger, thought on his feet, grabbed the salt, got her, and got back as soon as he could.
Mm-hmm.
Even before that, when Kendra was kind of, like, hypnotized, paralyzed by the specter lady outside the window,
Yeah.
he grabs her, gets her to the bed, remembering what Grandpa said about the salt being, like, the last line of defense. I love him, but I hate him sometimes.
Sometimes
Like,
you
I
just want to grab him by the collar and be
shake
like,
him.
when will you learn? Which is probably what parenthood feels like. So,
Well, that's gonna be fun.
yeah.
No, but yeah, so
All right.
Do you have any Sethism candidates?
I already read a couple of them, but let's see.
I had a lot in like the last chapter for some reason. Like they started jumping out at me.
Yeah.
One that I have, I'm curious if you had it at all. It's when they hear the monstrous groan from the barn, and like Seth is like, "What if Grandpa and Lena were taken to the barn?" And Kendra's like, "Well, whatever. So there's something still in there. Like, are we sure we want to go in there?" She's like, "Grandpa told us never to enter the barn." Seth goes, "I'm pretty sure I'm already grounded at this point. I might as well." And so I was just like,
That's a good one.
Seth, honey, that's not the attitude that you should have, but I respect it. That was like one of my favorite ones. Grandpa is talking about, like, he's starting to introduce the concept of Midsummer Eve. He's like, the day after tomorrow is June 21st. Do either of you know the significance of that date? And Seth is like, your birthday? Like, just takes a shot in the dark. Like,
He's like, it must be something important.
like, anniversary, something. So that was one I just kind of, it got me to chuckle.
I like the part when Seth and Dale are like walking along the road, and Dale's like, "I have a surprise for you," and then Seth's like, "Oh, what is it?" And he says, "The surprise is on the far side. You sure? Positive. Better not be another fairy." "What's the matter with fairies? I've already seen about 1 billion of them, and they also turned me into a walrus." And he's like, "It's not a fairy." He's like, "It's not like a waterfall or something, is it?"
It's nothing girly, right?
And then he starts to run ahead because he's like, "Oh, let's go." And then Dale like doesn't follow him. He just keeps the same pace, and Seth's like, "Oh, that's not a good sign."
If it was actually dangerous or scary or cool, he wouldn't want me going off alone.
Yeah,
Dang it!
It's just funny that he equates like coolness with danger.
Which is so unhealthy.
Yeah.
On so many levels. They're bickering about Seth going to open the window. It's barely sunset. What better time to look? How about never?
How about never?
You're a bigger chicken than Goldilocks. You have less brains than Hugo.
Those are good ones. Yeah.
Like, that's just such a perfect sibling moment.
Oh yeah.
They're following tracks. How do you know that whatever made these tracks took Grandpa? He's like, I don't. Seth admitted, but it's a start. What if it turns you into a painted statue like Dale? I won't look directly at it, just in mirrors. Where'd you get that from? History.
Also in that same, when they're following the tracks, he says, I'm losing track of which way we're going, she said. Back under the trees, the line of sight, both the hill and meadow had disappeared. I have my compass, so if all else fails, we can find the North Pole.
Which is, like, perfect, like, Kendra, like, exasperation, like, she doesn't, like, trust Seth. But then he pulls out, like, the clutch. We've been going southwest ever since we left the yard, and then we turned northeast. And I was like,
Yeah.
Seth, bud.
Someone went to Boy Scouts.
Like, really? Like, and she, like, even Kendra does kind of like a double take, like.
She's like, okay, I get it. You kind of know where you're going.
Like, okay. And he's like, the key is paying attention, which is what he does. He pays attention in the moment.
Yeah.
And he notices the things, and he utilizes them as quickly as he can.
Yeah.
That's his strength.
He pays attention, but he doesn't get all the knowledge that he can, as opposed to Kendra, who also pays attention, but also tries to get all the knowledge that she can before she attacks a problem.
So different.
Yep.
But I like it. They complement each other in a very nicely way. All right. The cow milking trophies was my other one.
It's a funny one.
Oh, he also calls, like, Kendra bad luck again. She's like, will you stop saying that?
She's like, stop. Like, you're making your own decisions here.
Yeah. So, yeah, those were mine, really.
Yeah, there's some good ones.
Yeah. Well, all right. I think that just about wraps it up for this episode of Knights of the Dawn podcast. Like, once again, we covered chapters 9 through 12 today. So thank you guys all so much for listening to this episode. Please, please, please share it with friends, family, whoever you think might enjoy it. And also, let us know what you want to see from our platform. That's a good word for it. Whether it be social media, requests from you guys on, like, questions or segments that you would like to put in, anything really.
Anything you want us to discuss as well.
Yes, very
ideas,
true.
We're open to it.
Yes, we have an email, which is knightsofthedawnpodcast@gmail.com. And go ahead and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We will be posting episodes as frequently as we can, just about as soon as we can grind them out. And please stay up to date with all our new stuff. Stuff is available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, I'm Jessica.
And I'm Megan.
Have a great day.
See ya.